All right, welcome. A very special segment. Not always we get a sitting judge to come visit with us at HTV, but Judge Randall Bethancourt, Division E. More importantly, my humanities teacher at Vanderbilt way back when. Judge, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Martin. Happy Mardi Gras. Happy Carnival.
No doubt. And I knew. I wanted to bet with Joni. I said the judge will be wearing a Mardi Gras tie.
Well, it is the day. It's Lundi Gras today, and tomorrow is Mardi Gras.
Absolutely. And you've always been a big supporter of Mardi Gras.
Absolutely.
So.
Yes,
and we'll
indeed.
get to that in a couple of segments from now.
All right.
But I want to talk about jurors. And there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of things that go around that people either fill in their own blanks or they've heard it wrong to begin with. So we thought it might be wise to come on, and thank you for doing that. But let's start off first of all with a very simple question. How are jurors selected?
Very good question. A lot of citizens don't know this. And so I want to thank you for allowing me to come on HTV today to talk about jury duty service. It should be of interest to every citizen that lives in Terrebonne Parish. After all, you may be called upon to come in and serve as a juror. And there's a lot of mystique attached to that. People don't know. And what people do know is what they see on TV. No offense, Martin, but movies and so forth. However, this is the way we really try cases in this country, in Louisiana, in Terrebonne Parish in particularly. And so, what we do in Terrebonne Parish is, by law, we're supposed to call jurors in for civil cases or criminal cases, and we are supposed to, by law, to take citizens from the whole. In other words, we want a cross-section of our society at random. And so what happens is, a lot of people may not know this, the way we get your name for jury duty service, anybody know? Want to think about that? Two ways. So the clerk of court is technically the one that actually handles the selection of the people that are called upon to come to court. Mm-hmm. So they do this by getting citizens' names. And how do they get their names? In Terrebonne Parish, they use two different venues. One, if you are registered to vote. So they get the register of voters rolls, and they put all that on the computer. And if you drive, if you have a Louisiana driver's license in Terrebonne Parish, all of those names go into the computer as well. And so when we are ready for a trial, we'll ask Ms. Teresa to draw a pool of prospective jurors, and from all those names, she will scramble them up on her computer and randomly pick about 100, maybe a little bit over 100 per jury for a jury trial. And then from those 100, the sheriff's office will mail out notices to those individuals who have been selected at random to come. So that's how we get your name and address, and that's how you are actually asked to come to court.
Let me ask you this, because how do, when we get to alternate jurors, I mean, it seems like you'll send out a lot to prospective jurors, but why are alternate jurors?
Okay, so alternate jurors, you don't know that you're an alternate juror until it's time to seat the jury. And so once we seat 12 people, for example, a 12-person jury, sometimes it's a 6-person jury. I'll explain that to you later. But we typically will pick 2 or 3 alternates, just in case someone gets sick during the trial, so that we won't have to start the case again from scratch. Mm-hmm. We'll pick 2 or 3. And so in the jury box, there won't be 12. There probably will be 14 or 15 people. Mm-hmm. Now, some judges tell the 2 or 3 extras, the alternates, that they are in fact the alternates. I don't. I scramble them up, so you don't know if you're an alternate or you're going to be one of the 12.
Well, that's pretty good.
Until the very end, after the judge gives the jury charge at the very end of the trial, right before they go in to deliberate, then I cut the 2 or 3 loose.
And that keeps them engaged.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's why I do
Pretty
that on
good
purpose.
idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because some judges don't. As a matter of fact, some judges don't let them leave. So let's say that 12 go into to deliberate, the judge will keep them in a separate room by themselves, sequestered, so to speak, just in case somebody gets sick during their deliberations, during the deliberations. I don't do that. Never had a problem with that, but some do.
So you're not thinking out the box, you're thinking out the jury box. That's pretty good stuff.
That's right. Okay, so you have about 100 people or so that's been summoned to come to the courthouse on a certain date. Now, when people get that letter, they're probably ticked off, frankly. Oh, man, jury duty. Well, there's a number to call if you think you may have a valid reason why you ought not have to serve. All right?
Right.
Call that number. All right?
And it's on the sheet that they get.
It's on the sheet, the number to call. We have a judicial administrator. Presently is Jenny Callahan. She's wonderful. And she'll ask you what your problem is. And if it's something that she can't take care of, she will refer you to the judge, or she will call the judge of that division that's having the jury trial.
So as we go to a break, and we'll come back and talk some more after the break, Jenny's well-trained. You can't just call and say, look, my coffee pot wasn't working, I don't feel good, I can't go to jury duty.
That's
You got
correct.
to have some qualified reasons.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. And she's going to want some proof.
Right.
All right, so if you're sick or have a doctor's appointment that you can't get out of, she's going to probably want some proof of that.
There's got to be some kind of minimum basic requirement, I guess, to be a juror. Is there?
By law, there are basic minimum requirements. So first of all, you have to be at least 18 years old. You have to be a citizen of the United States and a citizen of Terrebonne, state of Louisiana, and a citizen of Terrebonne Parish for at least a year. Okay. So you have to have lived in Terrebonne Parish a year back. In other words, for the past 12 months, you have to have lived in Terrebonne Parish. If you don't meet any of those requirements, you're not eligible. All right?
Okay.
And then you have to be able to read, write, and speak the English language. So that's pretty important as well. Now, some people may have problems. If you notice, we didn't say can hear.
Right.
All right? So can read, write, and speak the English language. So a lot of people seem to have problems hearing. So that is not a disqualification. So we make every effort. As a matter of fact, even in our courtrooms, we have earphones that are available to amplify the sound. So we make some provisions for people that have a hard time hearing.
And that's something I never
yeah,
knew.
Those are the basic, and you can't have any felony convictions and so forth. Now, if you don't fit on one of those qualifications, you can tell our judicial court coordinator, call that number. Say, hey, I live in Wisconsin. I moved 2 months ago. Or, hey, I'm only 15 years old, 16, 17 years old. Somehow maybe their name got into the data because they were driving a car while they were 17. So let our judicial coordinator know. Another it's not a qualification, but a lot of people will be happy to know. Under the law, if you are 70 years old, you may claim an exemption. All right, so if you're 70, you do not have to serve. But it's not automatic. You have to claim it. So you have to come to court or call the judicial court coordinator and say, hey, I'm 70, I don't want to serve.
Because some people want to serve.
On the other hand, yeah, we have a lot of
They wanna
70-year-olds
stay
and
active,
plus
yeah.
that show up and they do want to serve.
Let me ask you this. How many citizens are summoned or called for jury duty for each case?
So we gather about 100 people for each case. So we ask about 100 people to show up. Of the 100, we're lucky if we get 60 people to show up. 60, 70 people would be a lot that would actually show up. Some people don't show up for many reasons. Some, they didn't get the notice.
What happens if they don't show up for like a 5-person jury?
Glad you asked that question, Martin. Each judge handles it differently. This is what Judge Bethancourt does.
All right.
If you don't show up for jury duty, and we think you may have gotten the notice, well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And so if you don't show up, then I'm going to call you for jury duty in about 2 months for the next jury trial. But we're going to personally serve you with an invitation to the party. All right, so we're going to actually have the sheriff's deputy serve you
Right.
with that invitation.
Yeah. It
And
won't
if
come
you-
in the mail. It'll come by hand.
No, it'll be a special by hand delivery. And if you don't show up then we will send you a notice to come see Judge Bethancourt to explain why you did not come yet again.
I would expect nothing different.
So
Let me
then,
ask you this.
and then we all 5 judges. We understand people have problems and so forth. We'll listen to what your problem is. the best thing to do is to tell us early on. As soon as you get that notice, let us know early on. That's the better way, if you do in fact have a
And we
problem.
got a little over 2 minutes left. Are jurors sequestered in Terrebonne Parish?
Okay, generally, no. Okay, so, and that's the big thing I wanted to cover today, Martin. Thank you for saying that, bringing that up. Okay, so you've heard people get really nervous because they see on movies and TV, jurors are sequestered. They have to stay in the motel room for weeks at a time while the trial's going on. Well, no. The last sequestered jury we had in Terrebonne Parish was about 30 years ago.
Wow.
25 years ago. They're extremely rare, done only on capital murder cases where the death penalty is on the table. And as I said, those are so rare. No. Now, we do use that word sequestered to mean that they have to stick together while they're deliberating, all right? So in the jury room, they're sequestered, so to speak.
Right.
But we're not talking about a motel room at all.
Yeah.
So we treat our jurors pretty good in Terrebonne Parish, you know. By law, they have to get some type of stipend, so they get a very small amount just to show up. I think it's $25 a day plus mileage per day to show up. And of course, that's really not a whole lot. But the law does not say that we have to feed you or give you breaks, give you coffee, give you donuts in the morning or biscuits or something. We do, because we know it's a big inconvenience, and so we want to treat you, appropriately. We know that you're giving up something, and let me stress it to the citizens. I know showing up for jury duty is somewhat of an inconvenience. It is. You're missing something: home, work, being with the kids. School, you're missing something. You'd rather not be there. We get that. So what we do is we promise to work as hard and as fast as we can, and we're going to make the experience as best we can for you. You know, so we do listen to the jurors. If they need a break, we're going to take a break. If they want to go late, so they can finish up quickly, we're going to do that. So I ask the jurors all the time, how are we doing? Typically try about 20-something a year. That's 5 judges. We do about 20-something a year. So you can figure two a month for 12 months. That's about 24.
How long does one last, a jury trial?
A typical jury trial in Terrebonne Parish lasts 3 or 4 days, 5 maybe, typically.
Yeah.
Now, they could last longer, but that would be rare. Typically, we try a case 3 or 4 days, and you go home at 6 o'clock every day, and come back in the morning, and we try, start again and so forth.
Yeah, and if you haven't been there, I've been to a couple. They're very interesting.
They are, and people can come in and sit in on any kind of court. Virtually, this court is open for everyone to come and watch. There are only a few type of cases that courts are closed, but generally speaking, criminal cases, civil cases, the doors are wide open. You can come and sit and observe.
Now, another important question, and I've heard it often. I don't know what the current pay is, but is there any pay still to serve?
Well, no. You get a little $25 a day, I
Your
think.
stipend.
And in mileage to pay a little car expense. And I was saying earlier, we like to treat our jurors, we treat them to lunch, for example. By law, we don't have to.
Right.
So we'll invite you to have lunch. We'll give you a little coupon to go have lunch. We don't have to, but we find it's more convenient because you may only have an hour and a half to go eat lunch. So your home may be down the bayou. You may not have enough time. So what we do is invite you to go to lunch at one of our local restaurants downtown as a convenience. Well, we don't really have to do that, but we do.
And I'm sure you're very cognizant of the fact, like you mentioned earlier, that people are rebuilding after Hurricane Ida, and for somebody to stop putting the roof on their house, it's tough. It really is tough. But I'm sure y'all have to show a lot of humanity when making decisions.
We absolutely do it. And as I mentioned, we haven't tried a lot of cases since the storm, particularly because of that. We understand people are displaced, their homes are damaged or destroyed. So we have been we try not to have a lot of jury trials in those trying times. But on the other hand, we have to get trials done for justice to happen. And I keep telling this to people when they show up for jury duty, I'm serious. If jurors wouldn't show up, we could not have a justice system in Terrebonne Parish. It's that important. Yeah, I'll be the one wearing the black robe for a jury trial, but I'm just a referee. I'm the umpire. Those 12 citizens are figuratively wearing that black robe because they're deciding the fate of someone. It's a
You know,
very awesome responsibility.
And I'm sure you've
Very
heard
serious.
this several times about jurors come in and say, well, you know, I almost didn't make it because my employer told me if I go, I'm going to be reprimanded or fired. Bad decision by the employer, right?
Absolutely. There's a law that says you cannot be fired because you're serving jury duty, all right? And so you can't be fired because of that. And after all, we live in a democracy, the greatest country on earth. You know, most countries don't have our system that we have. All right, so it's a privilege, it's an honor. And yes, it is an inconvenience, but it's part of being a U.S. citizen. All right,
Yeah.
There's only one of 2 or 3 ways you can participate as a citizen, a regular citizen: voting and jury duty. You're actually part of the process when you do those 2 things.
You know, and we talk about jury duty, and just a little funny story. It's legendary how some judges in the past, you know, there's talk amongst town about, okay, well, you have Judge Bethancourt, you're not getting out of jury duty. Or yet, back when Judge Gadry was in town, I might have been the only person he let off because one time I was in the jury room with everybody there, and he called me up to the bench when he was just sitting there giving instructions. He said, "You look really tired and you're not shaving. What's wrong?" I said, "I delivered 12 puppies last night." He said, "When did this all end?" I said, "About an hour ago. I had time to shower and get here." He said, "See you later."
Right.
So that's rare.
We listen to those kind of stories, believe it or not. That's not, that's not an unusual story.
Right.
People tell us those kinds of things all the time. And we have to weigh. And the bottom line, can you be fair and impartial and be attentive during the trial? And that's important because if it were you on trial, if you were the one that was on trial, you want someone to be fair, impartial, and will listen to everything during the trial. That's what you would want.
And ironically,
And that's what you should get. And that's what we
you
will
said
give.
it earlier, ironically, that when he let you off, you can rest assured you're going to be called on the next batch.
Absolutely.
That's just the
That's
way
right.
it works.
That's
So,
right.
with about a minute left, we have a short amount of time. Things are starting to percolate a little bit, get back to normal, if we know what normal is.
We are in luck. Hopefully, COVID is tapering off. Please, Lord above, hopefully He'll help us out on that. And so not only getting back to normal, but I hate to tell the citizens, but we're going to be pretty busy during the next 2 or 3 years catching up. So we may have a little bit more jury trials than we've had in the past, before COVID, because we have to catch up.
I want to tell people, and I want to thank you for coming on and explaining that, but I also want to explain to the viewers here on HTV, check and search on social media and watch on HTV at other times, because I'm going to have a trivia segment with the good judge. He's going to try to stump me on some Mardi Gras questions because he knows a lot about Mardi Gras. He was involved in Mardi Gras all over the gambit, and I think his humanities teacher style came out in the Mardi Gras world. So be searching for that. It's going to be a fun segment. Judge, thank you for joining us on the more serious stuff, and I'll see you on the flip side with some not so serious stuff.
Well, thank you very much, Martin. Appreciate you allowing me to be here today and talk about such an important subject. And please let your citizens, let your viewers know that we're not going to bite you for jury duty.
All right, thank you. We'll be right back.